Aha, bonjour, tanse. Bimashigi nundish nikas mangandote. So this is part two of this two-part video, short videos that we're sharing with you this month, November. So anyways, I wanted to share this teaching over here. I wanted to introduce you to this guy. This here was gifted to me many years ago from an elder in Saging First Nation, which is about an hour north of Winnipeg here. But anyway, he's on the reserve where he has his home. He has quite a bit of property there. For example, in the back of his home towards the river, along the river, there's a big open area where they hold sun dances every year. And beside his home, he also has a large acreage of bush trees in that. Okay? But anyways, he shared with me that one day he was walking in the bush and he almost tripped on something. And as he went to go and investigate what it was that he had almost tripped on, he saw something sticking out of the ground that was not like the other debris that was laying there. So he kind of explored a little bit more, and he started digging in that, and he ended up digging this guy out of there. Who put it there, he doesn't know. How it got there, he doesn't know. How long it had been there, he doesn't know. But anyways, he had it for a few years, and one day when I was visiting him, he dug it out and he said, here, maybe you can make some use of it. So, anyways, I've had this object for quite a number of years since. But what it represents for me is this first part over here. It represents that Wolverine claw. A Wolverine claw is what this represents over here for me. And one of the teachings that comes with a Wolverine warrior is that they're a very fierce animal. For example, a Wolverine probably stands maybe about 1.5 feet, whatever, right? And maybe about 2 or 3 feet long, maybe about 1 foot wide in that. Eh? So they're not a very big animal, but a Wolverine will come face to face with a 5-6 foot grizzly bear, and most times, if they were to get into a fight, most times that Wolverine will probably win that battle. That's how fierce a warrior that Wolverine is. But anyways, this one over here, he's also carrying, and that's this part of this object here, is carrying a grandfather. And one of the teachings about grandfathers, it's those ones that we use in our ceremonies, particularly in our sweat ceremonies. Grandfathers are rocks, stones that we heat up in the fire for about 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. We get them red hot, and we bring them into the lodge to come and help us heal. So that's what this represents for me, is a grandfather in that way. So and then you bring those together, that Wolverine claw and that grandfather. That Wolverine claw is clutching at that grandfather. But when you bring these two together, it makes for a club. In that this wood, whatever it's made out of, is fairly heavy. And if you were to clonk somebody in the head with this, you'd probably hurt them pretty badly in that. But part of why I wanted to share this also in that is that this particular one has also a black line over here, right down the center. And again, that's how it was gifted to me. And that's how he found it, the elder, as well, too, in that. But what that represents for me is that there's two roads in life that we all walk. And in that sense, our words can be very much like that as well, too, in that. In that we can use our words, just like this club right here, to hurt somebody. When we use our words to hurt somebody, to put them down, to belittle them in those kinds of ways, to make them not feel good about themselves, maybe, right? When we use our words that way, it's like us using a club and hitting them with that. And that's, again, that's what that part of that represents for me, at least this side of it, maybe. And our words can be very powerful in that kind of way. Just as powerful as our actions, maybe even more powerful. Because one of the things about words is that once they leave our lips, that we can never take them back. We can never take them back. So they're gone forever. And sometimes when those words hit another person, then those words will stay on that person as well for a very, very long time. And in saying that, I remember again in my own childhood, adults saying stuff to me that affected me in a negative way, and how I carried that for many years into adulthood. Right? So again, that's why words are very important. That's why sometimes words can also be very damaging. But on the other half of this grandfather, what that represents for me is that we can also use our words to help others. We can use our words to lift others when we say kind things, when we say good things to others, when we acknowledge others for doing a good job. Maybe acknowledging our children when they bring a report card, like, that's good, and we acknowledge them, oh, that's awesome, you did an awesome job, right? Or else maybe when our daughter sweeps the floor, fixes up the living room, right? Awesome, thank you so much, I really appreciate that, and you did a really good job. Again, she maybe will go away feeling good about herself, right? Or telling her partner that, oh, that was a wonderful meal. I really appreciate that time you took, that love that you put into making that meal. And again, makes her feel good, right? So it's always important that we can use our words in those good ways, in a kind way, to lift people up, right? To make them feel good about themselves. So in doing so in that, we become a warrior as well, right? Just like that Wolverine. So part of why I wanted to introduce this guy to you is to acknowledge that warrior self in all of us. Right? We all can be that warrior. And sometimes, a warrior is not necessarily a person or, somebody that goes to hurt others. That's not necessarily a warrior. But a warrior is those people that, do good within their own families, in their homes and that. A warrior is a person that, goes and helps elders, right? Bring in their wood, or else bring in some water from the lake for them, or maybe taking some wild meat to them, or fish to them. Helping our elders in those kinds of ways, that's being a warrior as well. Or else maybe, in our community, when kids don't have nothing to do and they're getting into trouble, a warrior is a person maybe that might organize a baseball game in the evening, or impromptu street hockey game, whatever. Those are warriors as well too in that, when they're helping others in those kinds of ways. So for me, I always think about, what kind of warrior do I want to be? Do I want to be that warrior that, destroys, that hurts, that maims? And when I think about it in that kind of way, obviously the answer for me is no. I don't want to be that type of warrior. I'd rather be a warrior that is seen as being a helper. In our indigenous ways, in our Anishinaabe ways, for example, we have what we call Shekabes. And a Shekabe is a firekeeper at ceremonies. A Shekabe is a person that goes and gathers wood for the ceremony, that chops the wood for that ceremony. That's a Shekabe. A Shekabe in ceremony is those women that prepare the feast food that they're all going to share as part of that ceremony. Or else a Shekabe at a ceremony is a woman who, makes the plate and goes and gives it to the elders before the ceremony begins. And those are all Shekabes. And in that way, we can all be Shekabes. In our everyday lives, in our homes, in our community, in our neighborhoods, right? All of us can be Shekabes in that way. For me, what that represents is when we do things from the heart, in a heart way, right? That's being a Shekabe, and that's being a helper. And when I think about that word helper, helper is somebody that tries to improve something, that tries to make something better, right? So in that way, being a Shekabe is when we help our families, when we help our children, our partners, right? When we help our elders, when we help our community. That's all being about being a Shekabe. And at the end of the day, that person, when we see them, we look at them as being a warrior, a true warrior. Right? A person who's looking after their family, a person who's looking after their elders, a person who's looking after their community. Those are true warriors. Right? And we do that in all kinds of different ways, in all kinds of good ways as well. Right? So that's what I wanted to share in regards to this club that was gifted to me many years ago, and by an elder that I admire and has become a mentor for me as well over the years. So I wanted to share that with you today as part of this video as well. Miigwech, 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 miigwech.